We are live to YouTube. City Council will begin at 5 p.m.
We're live on Rogers TV, on the city's YouTube page, and on Sioux Today, I believe. Before we begin the meeting tonight, I want to take a few moments to acknowledge a few tragedies that have shaken our community and our country in the last several weeks. First, the death of Connor Dunn, taken from us at 15 years old, is an unthinkable loss for us all. Our hearts are broken at a life cut unnecessarily short, and the city of Sault Ste. Marie sends its condolences to the Dunn family and friends, the Cora Collegiate community, and the entire local sports community impacted by his death. We mourn with you. More recently, the devastating Lapu Lapu Festival attack that took place in Vancouver on Saturday evening has shaken all Canadians this week. And on behalf of the city of Sault Ste. Marie, I want to extend our deepest condolences to all those affected by this heartbreaking tragedy. Our thoughts are with the people of Vancouver, the Filipino community, both there and here in Sault Ste. Marie, in the aftermath of that tragedy. And finally, on a more positive note, I want to congratulate our MP on his re-election last night. I want to congratulate all the candidates locally who ran and across the country. Congratulate the re-elected Prime Minister, Mr. Carney, Prime Minister Carney. And of note, we've got 4 Siouxites elected to the House of Commons last night. Rob Oliphant in Don Valley West, Carrie Diot in Edmonton Griesbach, Jonathan Wilkinson in North Van, and of course, Terry Sheehan in Sault Ste. Marie. So congratulations to all the Siouxites who were successful last night. And with that, Madam Clerk, I will begin the meeting officially by acknowledging that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bawating. Bawating is home to Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council.
And under agenda item 2, I have a motion by Councillors Bruni and Vezo Allen. Resolved that the minutes of regular council meeting of April 7, 2025 be approved.
All in favor? That carries.
And under agenda item 4, declarations of pecuniary interest, Councillor Dufour has declared with respect to the municipal capital facilities exemption of 548 Albert Street East and 721 Wellington Street East, as he's an employee of the District of Sault Ste. Marie DSAB, as well as the associated bylaws 2025-63, 2025-64, 2025-65, and 2025-66.
Any other declarations of conflict, Council? Seeing none.
I have a motion by Councillors Caputo and Dufour, resolved that the agenda for April 29, 2025 City Council meeting as presented be approved.
All in favor? That carries.
Then under agenda item 6.1, the Sault Ste. Marie Public Library, Wayne Greco, Chair, and Matthew McDonald, Chief Executive Officer, are in attendance.
Welcome to Council, Mr. Greco and Mr. McDonald.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, thank you for allowing us to come here today. We want to tell you about the good things that are happening at the library and how much we appreciate your support. We have a very strong and beneficial relationship with City Council. It does good things for the library, and we appreciate that that continues to happen. So we don't have an ask, just here to tell you the good work that's happening at the library. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's hard to believe, but here we are, already a third of the way through 2025. Time moves quickly, but today I wanted to take a moment to pause and look back. So we're here to share with you how our public library performed in 2024. It was a year of momentum, progress, and community impact. So you should have received a 20-page annual report packed with statistics, highlights, and stories from the past year. I'm not going to bother going into all the details. It's there for you to peruse in your own time. We have had many successes, Not only have library services returned to pre-pandemic levels in many areas, we've also surpassed them. We've seen our community re-engage with the library in remarkable ways. Over the past 5 years, our membership has grown by nearly 50%, which I think is an incredible amount. And it's not just a number, that's thousands more people who are actively using the library, attending programs, reading, learning, and building connections. One of the reasons we've been able to move forward so strongly is because of the strategic plan we launched last year. For several years, we were doing good work, but without a clear map of where we were headed. The strategic plan changed that. It provides direction, alignment, and energy. It helped us define our priorities, set meaningful goals, and deliver services that matter most. And of course, no year is without its challenges. We'd be remiss not to acknowledge them. So safety and security, particularly at our downtown branch, continues to be a concern. The James L. McIntyre Centennial Library is showing its age. A much-loved building, but it's in need of major reinvestment to ensure that it remains a welcoming, accessible, and functional facility for years to come. We're also navigating the fast pace of technological change, trying to stay ahead and meet our community expectations and needs. On top of that, like many organizations, we felt the strain of recent economic pressures, especially due to our reliance on American source materials, especially books and software. But despite these challenges, we're moving forward with optimism. And early signs show that 2025 is already shaping up to be another strong year. So we are deeply grateful for the continued support of City and Council. Thank you for believing in the power of public libraries. We're proud of what we've accomplished with your support, and we're excited about what we're going to be doing this year and the years to come. Finally, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about library services.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. First, I just want to say I truly enjoyed reading the presentation and your annual report. Gosh, you're very creative. So please tell your team that I enjoyed reading about the different events that you offer. And I know from just reading the reports, it sounds like your turnout has been very good. But I do have a few questions. I have most of the answers because I've read the report, but there's people at home that may not have had a chance to see your work. So first question, it's my understanding that both locations are doing extremely well.
Yes, both locations are doing very well. Initially, when the North Branch opened, it opened in November 2019, and then we had the pandemic hit us almost immediately afterwards. So it took a little bit of time to get up and going with that branch to make people aware of the new location. But now that the community has become fully aware, that branch is getting a lot of attention. A lot of programs are being through that library location, and it is well used.
Okay. Out of curiosity, do they have about the same hours each location, or are they a little bit different?
They are a little bit different. The Centennial Library has more, the larger facility. The North Branch opens a little later. It usually opens around 10. It doesn't have quite as many later evenings. It doesn't have Sunday hours, whereas the Centennial Library quite often is a 12-hour operation, except for Fridays and weekends.
Okay, good to know. And I want to say congratulations on the number of library cards or members, whatever the proper word is. And if I did my math correctly, I think about 35% roughly of our population holds a library card, approximately.
It would be about a third, yes. We also take into consideration our contracting communities. So we have members from Searchmont and Gooley and Tarbat as well.
Okay. And that was going to be my next question. I noticed that you have on your website, which is well done, you can download different materials and so forth. And I believe you can have a temporary account, so you can download materials. Is that correct?
That is correct. So you can get a temporary digital card. So you can get one so that you can immediately access online resources, and then we'll register you for a full card so that you can borrow physical materials in addition to the digital resources.
You have to come into one of the branches to actually get that physical card?
To get a physical card, yes, you do have to come into a library location and bring proof of ID of where your residence is, and then we'll sign you up for your library membership.
Okay. I noticed in your report that you're hoping to invest more into technology. Will you be, by chance, investing into an online library card so a person doesn't actually have to come in? For example, like you said, we do have people in Searchmount. We have people in Gooley and Deborah and so forth that might find it difficult to come in. Are you looking at using technology to improve, like a e-library card?
We do have a lot of e-resources. We do hope to push the Ontario government to support an Ontario library e-resource. So that is something that we're supporting through the Federation of Ontario Public Libraries, the Ontario Library Service, and the Ontario Library Association. So it is something that we would like to see for all communities across Ontario, especially those rural communities. So we are pushing that, but it is more of a provincial strategy that we're participating in.
Okay. It's good for us to know because there's many times we deal with the province and we could also advocate for you. Just two other questions. I read in your vision, it states that you promote obviously literacy and and I noticed that you do have programs where you're trying to help new Canadians with their language skills. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. We do have some programs like that, especially around resume building. We do offer Spanish classes for people who are interested in learning languages, and then we try to work with LIP when we can, and we look for opportunities as they arise. We've worked with Algoma University to give tours to foreign students who are coming into the community so that they're aware of the library resources that are available.
Okay, great. And towards the end of your presentation, was thrilled to see all the different sponsors you have.
Yes.
And I'm also happy to see the number of donations and that you have been receiving. And
Very generous community.
you definitely do. And so I'm really happy to see that. And I also happy to see that you have what you call like a courier service, where I guess you can have a book be dropped off at your house or whatnot.
So for homebound residents, we do offer a visiting library service, in which we will pick out some books for those individuals who are signed up, and we will deliver them to their homes because we recognize there is a barrier, especially those with mobility issues, to coming into the library. So we'll bring the library to them.
Okay. Is there anyone that's sponsoring that program, especially to help with the gas, the fuel?
No, it's paid for using public funds that are provided by the city to be able to meet those needs.
Okay, maybe McDougall Fields can jump in. And I just wanted to say, kind of echoing to our mayor's comment about Suites, it's my understanding you have two new team members
Yes.
that have moved back to Sault Ste. Marie. And so I'm happy to have read that. I think the person is Michael and Kathleen Watson.
Kaylin Watson, she has been a resident of Algoma for a long time, and so she's somebody who's kind of grown up in the library system as a library user and has continued to work with the library. Michael has lived in Toronto and has also moved back to Sault Ste. Marie. He originally worked for us, and then he worked for the Algoma University in their library, and then we recruited him back for a manager position, and we're quite happy to have him on our management team.
I think that's great. So in closing, I look forward to participating in some of these events, especially the one where you involve with food and eating and cooking. I'm definitely going to sign up for that one. So thank you for coming tonight and keep up the good work.
For having us.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. Councillor Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one quick question. Last time you were here, you identified a security issue. How are things going with that?
We've actually done an analysis. We've looked at the security incidents for 2024, and there are far fewer incidents that have actually occurred. We're looking at a calendar of when the events are, and we're using a rubric for severity of events. And in the beginning of the year, there were more, but that's also when we first had security. And so the security incidents have lessened since the beginning of the year. The incidents that do happen sometimes are still severe, but we are noticing that there is a downward trend. And right now, we're still doing an analysis. I've asked my staff to look at the 2023 statistics and the calendar and see if we notice any patterns with that as well. So it has been a very positive experience having the security on staff.
Great. I'm glad to hear that's on the decline. That's my only question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Caputo. Councillor Spina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One quick question, and I'm always impressed with your ability to adapt and innovate. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about, if you can maybe speak a little bit to the, and maybe I'm not calling it the right thing, the object library.
The object library? Oh, I love the object library.
Thank you.
So we're lending out more than books. You can come to the library and borrow life jackets. That's a new partnership that we actually established last year with the city of Sault Ste. Marie and the John Rhodes pool. So we actually have life jackets for those families who may not go to camp all that often, or maybe are renting a camp for the first time. They don't have their own, and they want to have life jackets available for their kids. They can borrow those from the library. Same with snowshoes during the winter. It makes things accessible to the community at large, who ordinarily may not have use for these objects the entire year, or may want to experience it for the first time to determine whether or not that is a financial purchase that they want to make in the future. We also have cultural passes, passes to museums, radon kits, thermal cameras to see where we can find energy efficiencies in your home, and bike locks too, so that we can support people who are coming to the library, make sure that if they've traveled by bike, that they can secure it safely without any worry.
Great. So really, books are just the start.
Yeah, books are our bread and butter, but we've got some jam too.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
With that, I don't think I can top that one, so we'll leave it at that.
Other councillors with questions? Seeing none. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Excellent, excellent report. That brings us to consent, Madam Clerk.
Consent. I've got a motion by Councillors Guardian, Vezo, Allen, resolved that all items listed under date April 29, 2025, agenda item 7, consent agenda, save and accept agenda items 7.2, 7.8, and 7.12 be approved as recommended. 7.8 being the community garden relocation to Esposito Park. That won't be discussed at all tonight. It may appear on a future council agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I've got Councillor Vezo Allen who wanted to ask questions on consent.
Thank you. I'd like to start with 7.1, the Northern Ontario School of Medicine.
Yes.
I would just, and sorry, the voice is not very good. My question is basically from page 62 regarding the project manager, that is the recommendation. And my understanding is NOSMU will own the implementation. So I would just like a little more clarity around the capacity to support that project manager. If funds are going to be asked of council again, we contributed 75,000 into this study. So if I could get a little more clarification on that implementation process, that would be appreciated.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Vezo Allen. It is something that we are discussing with NOSM University now, is the next phases of the project. I think it's a little premature to come back right now with any specific asks or resources that are required. We're going to work with NOSMU. We'll also be working with the folks at the provincial government to see how we can advance these initiatives and bring them to the community as soon as possible.
Okay, just a comment. I think, identifying a project manager, I think is really critical. We were looking at 3,500 more patients getting derostered from Group Health Center as well. The announcement that both Thessalon and Richards Landing emergency departments are going on a rotation and being closed, one on April 30th and one May 1st. More than really is a concrete need for physicians in the north and the lack of healthcare that we have. So looking forward to seeing more of a thorough project plan of that implementation plan and having dates and more better deliverables. But I certainly think this is something that we need to be forefront with our Ministry of Health, because we are getting into a healthcare crisis here in Sault Ste. Marie.
Thank you, Councillor Vizual. And other councillors on 7.1? Councillor Hollingsworth?
Thank you, through you, Mayor, to Mr. Bear. Just to continue on with Councillor Vanzuel's couple of questions. Can you just give us an idea of some of your key timeframes, some deadlines? I know that you may not have it hard, true dates, but can you give us a general idea what the next step is and when are you hoping to accomplish that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, the opportunity in the near term that was identified in the report for the primary care teaching clinics is something that we hope that we'll be able to advance with the province this coming year. There were applications submitted from the community previously for this initiative, so we're hopeful that we are successful in that. And then I think beyond that, that will be the first step really in digesting those new clinics and getting those spaces up and running. And after that step, then we'd be engaging with NOSMU to look at other years of education and how to expand the campus locally.
Okay. And I understand that you're on constant correspondence with the province. Have you been to Toronto to have a face-to-face meeting with the province?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, we have not yet, but we are lining up meetings for the end of May, and our hope is to have those conversations then.
Okay, thank you. And obviously you'll bring some key stakeholders with you. Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. Other Councillor Zagordo on 7.1?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In terms of, through you to CEO Bear, the report mentions as locations or primary locations, Algoma Public Health and the Sioux Area Hospitals as hospital, as well as others. What role, if any, would Sioux College and Algoma University play in location involvement in the delivering of the program?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Zagordo, the initial locations identified in the study were very much focused on the initial phase with the primary care teaching clinics. So that's where having a clinical setting like the hospital or Algoma Public Health in close proximity to Group Health Center made a lot of sense. I think in the future, there certainly is opportunity for collaboration with both our post-secondary institutions. And I know Algoma University had been previously collaborating with NOSMU on the Addiction and Mental Health Research Institute, and that work continues. So I think beyond this first phase of the primary care teaching clinics, there will be opportunities for both Algoma U and Sioux College to partner with NOSMU.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zagordo. Other councillors on 7.1? Okay, seeing none. Councillor Vizual, other items on consent?
Just one more, 7.6, the YMCA, to Mr. Lamming. Mr. Lamming, in the report, you state that right now we're looking at a minor surplus in 2024 of just over $239,000. And I know that you've hopefully are going to be successful with your CEO search. In terms of budget and covering a CEO wage, could you kindly give us an overview of the financial standing of the YMCA and the ability to be able to cover off that salary, because they have not been paying for a CEO for since the issue arose with the YMCA, so they haven't had that in their budget. So I'm assuming this $239,000 is partly due to the fact that they haven't had that person that they've had to pay a salary for.
You, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bezawalan. They have had an interim CEO all the way till the end of December of 2024. They do have a surplus projected for the year ending March 31st, 2025, in excess of 230,000. There was some gapping from January 1st till March 31st, which did contribute to that. The Y is trending quite positively from a financial performance after backing out the sale of the building. They're also in a much better cash position. At this time last year, they had about 864,000 in the bank, and right now they have 1.7 million. So that shows to their ability to meet daily cash obligations and the projected cost of a new CEO, while also having some money set aside for capital repairs.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't ask this, and you may not have this information. Do you know approximately, without, summer students and things like that, but what their monthly salary requirements are for their permanent FTEs and PTEs?
Here, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bezawalan, I don't have their exact salary expense. We are provided a daily cash flow that's extended out through the end of December 31st, 2025, and it has a low of approximately 1.6 million up to a peak of 2.8, and that ebbs and flows with how childcare is funded and other expenses flow throughout the year. Also with us tonight, we have both co-chairs, Virginia McLeod and Chris Graham, and interim general manager Rose Baradelli here that are also available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, that was all. It was just more concerned about salaries, because salaries are something that, need to come out of operations, and just making sure that we can cover that off with the addition of the permanent CEO.
Thanks, Councillor Bezawalan. Just to follow up on your question there, do the daily cash flows include a cost for the CEO?
To you, Mr. Mayor, yes, they do include a category for CEO and then an extra finance person as well, in addition to the staff that they have.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have
Councillor
anything further on 7.6.
Thanks, Councillor Bezawalan. Councillor Caputo on 7.6.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the report, it says the city has been advised that Northeastern Ontario YMCA decided not to partner with local Sault Ste. Marie YMCA. Maybe I'll address this to Ms. McLeod or whoever can answer from the gallery. What is the new plan, and how does this affect what you had in mind going forward?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Caputo. Yeah, we were working with the YNEO and hoping that they were going to come on board and provide the CEO, at which time, when we found out that they weren't in a position to do so, we struck a CEO search committee. And from there, we've been working with that committee, went through the process, and we're in the final stages of preparing to make an offer right now. So we'll be working with that. We will be revisiting YNEO in the future to see if there's opportunity there as they strengthen their organization.
So aside from CEO, there was no other real benefit that you'd be losing to not partner with the Northeastern YMCA?
So with that partnership, they had additional resources from an HR standpoint and IT. So we're working through that process right now. We've been able to bring somebody on board to do the financial aspect of the requirements. The previous financial person was no longer with us. We had an interim one. So we now have an individual that's being able to provide all the requirements for the financial updates, the monthly statements and reporting requirements. So we're working through the other aspects of what's needed, and we're hoping to do that when the new CEO is onboarded.
Okay, thank you. My last question for you is, in the end of the report, it's indicated staff will encourage Sault Ste. Marie Y to provide an update at future open council meetings. Is that an intention of the board to continue to come to us and provide updates to council and to the community?
Yep. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Caputo. Yes, that's correct. So as part of our reporting requirements, we're looking at having an annual, quarterly reports. We're working on a report card so that we can provide some of those key KPIs to council and to the community. As well, in the next 6 months, we're just year ending March 31st. We'll be holding another AGM and inviting the community to that. As we also onboard the CEO, we'll hopefully be doing a launch and making sure that we're having that ongoing communication with the community as well as council.
Awesome. Well, I'd just like to say it's nice to have a board that is taking a bit of responsibility, coming to council with some answers, and there's a lot of positive things in this report. I can't wait to see the day that we have a brand new YMCA and, even more members than you've got now. And I think they're on a great path with the team they've got. So proud of you. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Caputo. Councillor Hollingsworth?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to Ms. Virginia McLeod. I know there's a few capital projects that still need attention. And can you just bring us up to date? I think the last time that we were talking about the Y, I think there was a significant capital project around boilers or something. Where does that stand?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth. The boiler project is currently underway, so the contract has been awarded. The site visits happened and the products are on order, so hopefully that installation will be wrapping up in the next couple months.
Okay, good news. And with regards to your surplus, well done. I heard that you're continuing to have an active donor campaign. Can you comment on that?
Yep. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth. Yes, we are continuing to work on the fundraising efforts. So we were very fortunate to be the recipient of a recent donation from Rotary. We've also launched a Yuck Yucks fundraiser. So if you're interested in attending, tickets are on sale currently. So we're hoping that'll also support the ongoing efforts.
And for the viewers at home, can you tell us the date? Because I think that's going to be a fun event.
May 23rd. And tickets are available at the YMCA, as well as, I believe we're selling them online.
May 23rd at the YMCA, or?
It's actually going to be at the machine shop.
Okay, excellent. Nicely done. And again, if anybody still wants to make a donation, which we all encourage, they can contact the YMCA or go onto the website?
Correct, yep.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Any other questions, Council? I don't have any questions, but I'll note we're April 29 right now. Last year, April 16th was the day that the Y put out that they were closing on May 15th of the following month. So 1 year later, we've got this report, positive cash flow, CEO being hired, and a true success story, I think, for the community. So it is, it's rare that we get to kind of circle back on these things. We work on them and we move on to the next crisis, unfortunately, more often than not. But this is a success story that deserves to be promoted. So I will give kudos to the whole team from the Y, the board and city staff for working together to get us to where we are today, which is very good news. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other items on consent, other councillors with items on consent. Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you. Just give me 1 second. I know that we pulled 7.12, I believe, but I still think that 7.13 is under consent, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Municipal capital. No, that's all good.
That's
There's
it.
nothing else. Yeah.
I will just draw council's attention to 7.9.1. Connor Bishop, who is a member of MIAC, has sent in a question on the Pointe du Chêne Disc Golf Course expansion. Connor couldn't be here tonight because his agenda conflicted with our meeting, but I will ask it for him. Ms. McLeod, Connor's interest, from the MIAC perspective, the interest is how we can increase, further incorporate, the youth of Sault Ste. Marie into the Disc Golf League, specifically whether or not there's a youth Disc Golf League that is or could be started up.
So through you, to you, Mr. Mayor, I did have an opportunity to talk to Sioux Disc Golf Association with regards to Connor's question, which was a great question. So they were quite actually excited about it because they've been trying to figure out ways to reach youth. They have started a Wednesday night league that's going to be running in town, and it's going to be advertised as youth friendly. They've also are open to working with MIAC to see how they can reach more youth with regards to getting them to come out, and would love to have that conversation with them further. I also had an opportunity to talk to one of our summer students that just started today, and she has a background in recreation. So we're actually going to see about working with disc golf to actually run a youth league specifically. So I'm hoping to have Elise come to a MIAC meeting so that we can see how we can launch that this summer, and we can take care of working with MIAC as well as Sioux Disc Golf to kick a league off.
Excellent, excellent. So if you've got Tim, who's the MIAC coordinator in the Recs and Culture Division, if he can coordinate that with MIAC, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, so hopefully we can attend the next meeting, which I believe is in 2 weeks.
Couple weeks, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. McLeod. Anyone else on 7.9? All right, seeing none, we can have a vote on the consent agenda. All in favor? Oh,
7.14 pulled.
it was not.
It was not. Would I be able to just make a comment on this if it's possible, please?
Go ahead.
So there won't be any presentation from staff because right now this is just information, and the final round of consultation will come back on June 23rd, correct?
Mr. Tenazzo?
This is a concern, partially a question, and I don't know who to direct it. I'll direct to the CAO, and then he can pass it on to anybody. In the report, which is 167 pages, it states that the city is going to initiate a winter maintenance pilot project to access the cost of providing winter maintenance to the active transportation paths. So basically, we're going to try to keep some bike paths open during the winter, correct? Maintained and open?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruni. So that could be a small portion of the multi-use trail. I don't know that it's specific to on-street bike lanes. I think it probably relates more to our multi-use paths or the John Rosewell Hub Trail.
Okay, because when this was brought forward before, our legal department, our city's staff departments had concerns regarding the liability, the cost of maintenance if we're going to have some bike lanes open. So you kind of clarified so I'm okay with that for now. Okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bruni. Mr. Tenazzo, are the dates of the public engagement sessions set?
To you, Mr. Mayor, they have not been set yet.
Okay. They'll be advertised when they are.
Certainly, yes.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no other items on consent, we can have a vote on the motion. All in favor? That carries. Madam Clerk, that brings us to 7.2.
7.2, regulating election signage. There's a motion by Councillors Gardy and Bezo-Allen, resolved that the report of the city clerk and assistant city solicitor, senior litigation counsel dated April 29, 2025, concerning regulating election signs be received, and that the legal department be requested to prepare a bylaw prohibiting election signs on public property, including parks. Such bylaw also to include a prohibition of illuminated or flashing signs.
Councillor Hollingsworth, you asked to pull this?
Yes. So just read through the basically, report, and I just want to clarify, if I'm reading this correctly, if this was passed, then we are not allowing election signs on public property, including, is that correct?
To you, Mr. Councillor Hollingsworth, that's correct.
Okay. And I understand that the staff, they've done their research by looking at other communities that follow the same stream. Is that correct? Okay. I have a hard time with this. When I put this forward originally, I was concerned about too many signs everywhere. This past election, I think, is a good example where I believe all candidates did a wonderful, outstanding job in being tastefully placing their signs in a safe area. My concern is this. If we just say to candidates that their signs can only be placed on private property, if you have a candidate that's relatively new to the community, they may not have a good network where they can put their signs on private areas. Or some companies, some merchants are nervous to allow election signs on their property and fear that is going to impact their business. There has been people that reached out to me to say that they purposely don't put election signs on their businesses because they have in the past lost business. People have said, you're voting for this group, I'm not going to do business for you. So I'm just worried that if we basically take out the piece where you can put it on, can't put it on public, you're going to limit the opportunity for candidates to display basically their sign. So in other words, I would like to see public, yes, but limited with criteria such as example, you can put one large sign or you may put 3 small signs, something along that line. Public to me means that it's open to everyone to voice their basically message. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. Councillor Bruni?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city clerk. When you say public, maybe can you explain exactly no signs on public?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruni, when we looked at our comparators, most of them just say public, and that would be further defined in a bylaw if that's what's requested to come forward. Some say not city property, some say not public or provincial. So that's something that in the event that a bylaw would come forward, that we would have to define that more specifically.
So let's use a corner, a 4-way corner. Would that be, all 4 corners would be public?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruni, I believe that that would be municipal property and therefore be
The first 10
considered
feet or whatever, 10 feet to the road. So, yeah, I'm going to agree with Councillor Hollingsworth that I think it's a disadvantage if there's a candidate out there that wants to run for any type of politics. Be very hard for them to get their names out. And I think there are some individuals in the past that have left their signs longer than 72 hours. There are some candidates that place signs in an area where visibility, it would cut off visibility, but I think our city staff has been doing a great job. And I know Public Works has removed signs and brought them into their compound, and it's up to the individual to go pick them up. But I think we're not encouraging people. That's one aspect of it, not to have any signs on public spaces. So I'll probably vote against this. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bruni. Councillor Kinnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe to Mr. King, if he's there.
It'll be Ms. Borowitz-Sibinek.
Okay, Ms. Borowitz-Sibinek. So my question is, I noticed that in the report, there was a reference to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, so that this could be a violation. So my question is like any of these other municipalities, was this bylaw challenged yet? And do we think this bylaw is defendable if it was challenged?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Kinnick, the municipalities that we have cited within the report, there are 3 municipalities that have enacted more recent bylaws. For example, St. Catharines was in February of this year. Gravenhurst and Bracebridge enacted their bylaw in November last year. Huntsville in January 2025, and the remainder listed have been there for several years. To our knowledge and our research, there has been no challenge made given the fact that the bylaws were not a full prohibition. There were limitations enacted. There was a prohibition in certain instances that signs not be permitted on public property. However, there was no outright prohibition. In that case, there has not been a challenge brought to our knowledge in our research to date. We have looked at the second portion of your question asked about the defensibility of the bylaw itself if it were to be enacted. We examined the bylaws themselves. If a total prohibition would be considered, well, any limitation on a right and freedom of expression would be a violation of Section 2B of the Charter. So then it would go to Section 1 of the Charter to see if it was a reasonable limitation. And in our view, considering the research that we've seen and the fact that other municipalities have enacted similar bylaws, the bylaw that we have recommended be brought forward to council at a later date, we would feel would be defensible given that it's not a full outright prohibition. And given the issues that we've seen within the municipality to date, it would be a rational connection to the issues that we have been facing.
Okay, thank you very much for that detailed explanation. I have comments. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So with the proposed bylaw, I don't agree with it for three reasons. Firstly, this year we did have 2 back-to-back elections, which is not normal occurrence. But the fact that we just touched up on the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is referenced in the report. I don't believe this is something we want to make a bylaw against. And if we are challenged, I believe it's going to be long drawn out and very costly to the city to defend. Secondly, it is well known that incumbency in political campaigns have an advantage. I feel that limiting the signage will give a further advantage to incumbent candidates come any upcoming election. And thirdly, this council passed a resolution to increase public engagement in democracy with 5 core goals, which was more local democratic and political engagement, better appreciation for municipal government, improve political civility and tone, expand and diversify candidate pool, increase voter turnout, and voter diversity. So I feel on these 3 points that if we did ban signage, we would be going against these points, and we would be kind of limiting our democracy and possibly silencing some really good candidates from getting their name out there and possibly getting elected. So I won't be supporting this today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kinnick. Councillor Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I very much respect my council colleagues' comments ahead of me, I would like to point out that I'm sitting here today as the Ward 3 councillor, and I ran my campaign with no signs. And I topped some pretty wonderful competitors who had a lot of signs. I'm not sure that the comments about like limiting or giving an incumbent an advantage, I see the complete opposite, that we're taking the incumbent's advantage away in not allowing these signs on public property. I would also like to say, while I respect the idea that like we don't want to limit someone's expression, myself as a single mom, I didn't have $3,000 or $4,000 to spend on election signs. That, you know, that is a huge barrier for a lot of candidates. And I think that we could see a lot of candidates coming from a lot of different places who didn't have the money to afford these signs. So should that be their barrier? You know, I think by doing this, we're taking the barrier away. Further than that, I'm wondering if I could ask Emily. I thought I saw Emily Cormier is she still here? No, she's gone. Okay, I'll just make my point then. The signs made of corrugated plastic, they are finished with, after your name goes on them, they're finished with a thin sheet of some type of plastic that takes, from what I read, up to 400 years to actually disintegrate. So those signs sit in the landfill and emit greenhouse gas. And, you know, you might use them once, you might use them twice, but eventually they're going to end up in the landfill. Further, we have seen, I have gotten a lot of complaints, especially in the provincial election, this last one, where we were seeing a lot of signs going into snowbanks. So we were seeing impaired, it was impairing people's vision to get around the corners in a winter where we were already experiencing very limited vision. And I wonder if I could ask, I guess, Mr. Dan Perry. Mr. Perry, these election signs, if an election happens in the winter and you are going to do bank removal, whose responsibility is it to have these signs removed before a bank gets removed?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Caputo, we try to work with the campaign teams to have the signs removed prior to snowbank removal, but if that doesn't happen, it would fall on staff.
So the operator would get out of their plow and take down all of these election signs before removing a bank?
Or we'd have a team of laborers that would.
Right.
Service, yeah.
Okay, and so then is that charged back to somebody who, like whoever owns those signs, or that just becomes a cost for us?
That's absorbed in the winter control budget.
Okay, and what if these, you know, one of these? Do you ever experience damage to the machines?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Caputo, the small signs don't seem to cause too much of a problem, but the larger signs could.
Right. And so then what happens to those signs once we pick them up?
They're taken back to Public Works compound and then given back to the campaign team.
Just given back for free?
That's right.
Okay. So not only are these signs, you know, in the instance that these elections are happening in the winter, not only are they impeding the work that needs to be done, they're impeding people's sight lines. I continually get calls about them flying into the streets, not being properly cared for. I know that the candidates try their best to like weigh them down, even when they're not in the snow. But you know, you see them flying around. To me personally, and for what it's worth, to the people that have spoken to me about this coming onto the council agenda, people don't want to see the election signs the way that they have, especially not in that last provincial election. So I will be supporting this, and I hope that you guys will too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Caputo. Councillor Spina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just comments, no questions. I don't believe at this time. Thank you. First, I'll mention with the most, a lot has been spoken about tonight about recent elections and the signs that were used in recent elections. And I do acknowledge that. And I want to acknowledge, and I want us all to understand something very important that those two elections proved to us. Signs don't vote. If we looked at the number of signs that were out there for each candidate, it would not be reflective of the votes that were cast, especially with how close the provincial election was and how fairly close the recent federal election was. And with the greatest respect to my colleagues who believe that this is a way to advertise for newcomers or even incumbents, I think it's really important for us to realize that the world has completely changed. And there are a number of other ways that candidates can reach voters through many, many, many different means, whether it's online, whether it's in print, whether it's at the door. Signs don't vote, and signs aren't the only way for us to advertise who is running in the upcoming elections on any level, municipal, federal, or provincial. I think it's incumbent upon anyone who's about to engage in the process of entering an election to know all the ways that they can reach the constituents, because it isn't just one way by using signs. It's by phone, it's by electronic means, it's by email, it's by social media, it's by print media, and it's by face-to-face encounters either at the door or at community events. I believe a bylaw like this will actually encourage candidates to meet people where they are and actually have those important conversations that will help not only move our city forward, but will help enhance the quality of the candidates that we are getting, because they will get that information directly from the voters on what voters want. The next thing I want to acknowledge is that as the snow has melted, especially in the East End, I won't speak to other wards, but Ward 1 in particular, two of the things that are consistent that I've seen across Ward 1 as the snow has melted are bags and shreds of papers that were left and thrown in people's driveways and ditches and yards, and shredded pieces of lawn signs that were left after the elections that had just passed. Those are now all left for public works and for people to clean up in their properties. And I can tell you the number of calls I've gotten from constituents is very large, and people are tired of doing that. People don't want to see this mess. They don't want to see this environmental impact. They want to see a responsible team that goes out there and helps move our community forward. And I don't believe these signs are the way to do it. I think the report that's come back from staff is something that's very reasonable. I believe in my experience that it is something that is completely defendable as well as we move forward, as our legal team has indicated to us here as well. I will be fully supporting this tonight, and I would encourage colleagues to as well if they see fit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spina. Other councillors? So I didn't support this the first time when it was brought, and I don't intend to support it today. Councillor Hollingsworth, you did bring this motion asking for this report, so I'm surprised you're not supportive of it, given that it was placed on the agenda because of a resolution that you drafted. It's got your name as the mover on it, so thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. In terms of the incumbency advantage that incumbents have, the stats don't lie. 80 to 90% incumbent advantage in Ontario municipal elections. So this further provides incumbent advantage to the people who hold these offices. And that's simply not fair. I realize, Councillor Caputo, that you did manage, and I applaud you for getting elected without signs, but it's not the path that most people take to get their name known. You used those other methods that Councillor Spina was talking about, but one of the methods most of us used, in addition to those other methods, is signage. And it is really, I think, up to the voter to decide whether or not that signage is used responsibly or irresponsibly. The fact that these signs had to be moved, frankly, is so infrequent an occurrence that I don't think it warrants regulating. We had a winter election in 2025 provincially. The last one before that, 1981. So this is not something that happens all that often, a winter election. And in the summer, it's much easier to manage, and they're not interfering, generally speaking, with major public works operations like bank removal. So I don't agree that this is a problem that needs resolving. I think it's up to the voters to decide whether or not sign clutter becomes an issue, and that's for them to pass judgment on with their vote. There was another point there, but it has escaped me. In any event, I think that the use of signs is not something that we ought to be policing. It can be policed in the electorate, and we frankly don't have the resources to police this effectively. If someone was intent on simply placing signs on public property, even with a restriction, it would be picked up by Public Works and moved to the yard anyway. So it would be essentially the same thing. I mean, they would be technically breaking the law, but I just don't think that our bylaw enforcement officers and Public Works should be spending their time chasing down candidates, bringing things to the yard to coordinate the removal. Allow them on public space and let the voters decide whether it's appropriate or not. So those are my comments on this. And unless there are other questions from councillors who haven't asked anything yet. Councillor Vezo-Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. I can't bring my e-scribe up, unfortunately, to quote the cities. Just a couple of comments. this was a conversation that I had in 2019 with then Councillor Hilsinger, and we talked about the environmental impact of signs, and to further on Councillor Hollingsworth's comments that with, you know, trying to encourage other folks to run, that not having it on public space is a detriment. What is a detriment is the cost of signs and the amount of funds that you need, whether you're running, you know, municipally, provincially, or federally, to run to have those signs. So I do support this. I think from an environmental impact, it is not becoming to our city. You know, we take pride on our waterways and our lands, and I think as well, you know, there are many ways that we communicate as a candidate, and I think it's important that we actually, by not having signs on public lands, we make it more accessible for people to run because they don't have that pressure that they need to have thousands and thousands of dollars for signs and a team of volunteers and trucks to do that. So I do support this motion. We see other communities doing this. And I think when we take a look at the pros and cons, I think it only has pros, and I will leave it at that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bezo-Allen. All in favor? All opposed? We'll vote on East Grove because I don't actually know what the outcome was there. It looked close. Against.
Councillor Bezo-Allen and Councillor Gardy.
Against.
So it fails 6-5. That is Councillors Spina, Dufour, Bezo-Allen, and Scott voting in favor. Mayor Shoemaker, Councillor Hollingsworth, Segurdo, Kinnock, and Gardy against. So that brings us to agenda item 7.12 is the Municipal Capital Facilities exemption for 548 Albert Street East and 721 Wellington Street East that Councillor Dufour has declared a conflict on. There is a report under 7.12, but there's not a resolution as there are for bylaws, but in case people had questions about the report.
This was only exempted on account of the conflict, Council. Were there any questions on this? Okay, seeing none, we can move on.
That will take us to bylaws. So I have a motion by Councillor Scott and Bezo-Allen resolved that all bylaws under item 12 of the agenda under date April 29, 2025, save and accept bylaws 2025-63, 2025-64, 2025-65, 2025-66, and 2025-70 be approved.
All in favor? Carries.
Bylaw 2025-70 will not be dealt with at this time. It may appear on a future council agenda. That's with respect to the community garden. And bylaw 2025-63, it's a motion by Councillor Scott and Bezo-Allen. Resolved that bylaw 2025-63 being a bylaw to authorize a municipal capital facilities agreement between the city and the Sault Ste. Marie Housing Corporation for property located at 721 Wellington Street East be passed in open council this 29th day of April 2025.
All in favor? Carries.
Bylaw 2025-64. Motion by Councillor Scott and Bezo-Allen. Bylaw 2025-64 being a bylaw to exempt the Sault Ste. Marie Housing Corporation from taxation for municipal and school purposes for the lands and municipal capital facilities contained thereon at 721 Wellington Street East be passed in open council this 29th day of April 2025.
All in favor? That carries.
Motion by Councillor Scott and Bezo-Allen. Bylaw 2025-65 being a bylaw to authorize the municipal capital facilities agreement between the city and the Sault Ste. Marie Housing Corporation for property located at 548 Albert Street East, be passed by council this 29th day of April 2025.
All in favor? Carries.
And a motion by Councillor Scott and Bezowalan that bylaw 2025-65 being a bylaw to authorize a municipal capital facilities agreement with the city and Sault Ste. Marie Housing Corporation for property located at 548 Albert Street East be passed in open council this 29th day of April 2025. Sorry, 2025-66.
All in favor? That carries.
The closed motion was read at the beginning of open. So we have a motion by Councillor Scott and Bezowalan that this council now adjourn.
All in favor? That carries.